Go ahead.
I think that, to me, it seems like the bigger gap is the 9/11 Truth people. They're not anti-war.
Oh, yes, they are. A 9/11 Truth activist is somebody who supports the 9/11 family members, supports the 9/11 first responders, is fighting to end these wars by exposing the cover-up of 9/11. So that's essentially what a 9/11 Truth activist is. That's something that Cindy realized a long time ago, that we are one and the same. Okay? So I've always been anti-war. Nobody has a bigger Cindy Sheehan archive than I do on my website. I have archives of the Iraq War, of the Afghanistan War, of the drone bombings, things you wouldn't believe.
Guatemala, I mean, Central America, things before 9/11.
Right, no, okay.
I mean, when you're saying something that's post 9/11, I mean, a lot of this is pre 9/11 also. And I don't disagree with anything that you're thinking on 9/11. It's just that I've had difficulty communicating with the 9/11 Truth movement, because they're not necessarily against military, against the militarization and empire and all that.
I would guess that most 9/11 Truth activists do focus on the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, the Pakistan drone bombings, the possible Iran war coming up. I don't doubt that at all, that they don't focus on what happened prior to 9/11. So, go ahead.
So, is there any place where the testimony of the whistleblowers that didn't get the opportunity to...
They never testified.
So,
I can recommend a lot of websites if you have a pen and paper. Number one, the best website that I recommend to go research 9/11 is www.historycommons.org. That was originally started by Paul Thompson. It's a complete outline of the 9/11 attacks, from going back to 1979 when Zbigniew Brzezinski, started funding the Mujahideen and so forth, all the way up until the day of 9/11, and now it's going past 9/11 into the current years today.
Does it name these whistleblowers?
No, I can name some of them. Sibel Edmonds was an FBI whistleblower. She's one of the most gagged people in American history. Did you know that Sibel Edmonds recently disclosed that Osama bin Laden was working for elements within the U.S. government up until the day of 9/11? That means that the system that supposedly ended after the Afghanistan-Russia war never went away. That we were funding, training, using Mujahideen. We were using them through the 90s in the Balkans. Look up Dr. Nafiz Ahmed has written extensively on how the U.S. has used the Mujahideen / Al-Qaeda. Historycommons.org, the complete 9/11 timeline. George, go ahead.
What website do you have?
I don't actually have a website. Well, I do have a website. I've posted over the years at 911truth.org, 911blogger.com, visibility911.org, opednews.com. I've posted as much and as often as possible. Are there any other questions? Go ahead. A phrase that I came up with a couple of weeks ago. It's a lot easier to tell right from wrong than left from right. What we're doing in the Middle East is wrong. The cover-up pertaining to the 9/11 attacks is wrong. The wiretapping is wrong. The torture is wrong. It's very easy to see that. And you don't have to be left or right to understand that. Go ahead.
One of the things that concerns me is that even if everybody believed that this is what happened, that everything that you say is true, and I believe that we do need a full investigation. I don't believe anything the government has said about that. But I also think there's so many people, the masses, who we talked about earlier, who are happy to sit back and watch American Idol or Dancing with the Stars.
I think it's shameful.
I do too. I agree. And if this were blown off, if the lid were blown off, and we all said, yes, our government is complicit, and they wanted this to happen just so we could become a fascist state, I think that too many people would just say, well, I'm still happy because my favorite TV shows are on, and I can go to McDonald's. There have been so many outrages that we all thought thought would bring this down, and they don't.
Well, 9/11 is an outrage that hasn't been allowed to happen in this country, a real outrage. As I said, the media has portrayed the 9/11 truth movement in a certain way. The media has written hit piece after hit piece after hit piece that is focused on two theories, controlled demolition and a missile hitting the Pentagon, as if that's all we're about. They don't talk about how Porter Goss or Bob Graham was meeting with an alleged financier of the 9/11 attacks on the day of 9/11 in Washington, D.C. They don't talk about how whistleblowers tried to come forward. You know, they don't talk about how black boxes were found at the World Trade Center, even though the 9/11 report says they were not. So they don't talk about Able Danger. They don't talk about a multitude of things. They try to frame the issue, because if they can frame the issue into two theories, it becomes a lot easier for them to deal with. So that's one of the reasons I actually focus on a lot of other things.
People don't want to believe that their government's capable of that.
Now, people say that Dick Cheney would never be capable of doing something like that. George Bush would never be capable of doing something like that. Does that mean that Dick Cheney would never steal the 2000 and 2004 elections? Does that mean that Dick Cheney would never use depleted uranium, causing our very own soldiers to get sick? Does that mean that they would never lie about the possibility of the levees breaking in Katrina? Does that mean that they would never give reassuring statements to the 9/11 first responders, saying that the air was safe to breathe, that the water was safe to drink, causing upwards of 70,000 people to become sick? And I think 865 9/11 responders have died because of the toxic dust. And nobody was held accountable for that. That's what this is about. It's about accountability. You can't let people get away with a crime, especially complicity in the murder of 2,973 people. You can't let them get away with this crime. We can't let them get away with this crime.
Is there anybody that we can try to push for to try to get more investigation on this issue?
Nope.
Or do you have any recommendations?
There was a recent ballot initiative in New York City where we got 80,000 New Yorkers to sign a petition calling for a new investigation to go on to the ballots of New York. That was shot down. One of the reasons that I'm here is because I've tried to use the system for the last almost 8 years, and the system does not work. So that's why I'm here. One of the reasons I'm here with Cindy.
Well, it works for the power elite.
Oh, it works for them. It certainly doesn't work for us.
Right.
Go ahead, Barry.
If more people knew about building number 7, it would be a done deal.
That's an opinion.
That's what I think.
Yeah, a lot of people think that. And a lot of people get a knee-jerk reaction when they hear about controlled demolition. And I think there's legitimacy to the argument. In fact, the family members think there's legitimacy to the argument. 2 summers ago, Dr. Shyam Sunder from NIST gave a press conference on WTC7. Laurie Van Auken and Mindy Kleinberg were on the phone asking questions of Dr. Shyam Sunder, and they were not happy with the answers they were getting. They're not happy. So I agree that it's certainly a legitimate portion of the falsehoods of the 9/11 story, but it's only one part of it.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Only one part of it. And unfortunately, I think 9/11 Truth has become synonymous with controlled demolition. And I think that's wrong. We started this thing supporting the 9/11 family members. We started this thing asking questions and demanding answers. We started this thing by supporting the 9/11 first responders who need the health care that they need. That's what I've tried to stick to over the years, and I've tried to stay away from theories, because I think the facts speak for themselves. I really do. Are there any other questions? Thank you all very much.